you have some of my 2005 draft class I was speaking about earlier with Aaron Rodgers, who is now the last player still playing, last active player from that 2005 NFL draft. There's a lot of guys in that draft.
I was looking through this and I was looking for some nuggets. So the 2005 draft class, Alex Smith goes number one to San Francisco. When
I feel like I had a piece in that, helping him out.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you play against Utah that year?
I did.
Did he light you up?
Oh, he lit us up. There was a hit in that game on Alex Smith. I don't know if they'll ever find it. Alex, we've talked about it before. This is before there was targeting in college football.
You got him?
Oh, I got him. And I'm talking about crown of the helmet, like textbook.
Like
would have been
what you do not do. Immediate ejection.
This is like one of those hits. This was one of those hits that you didn't even need a review. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
come on, man. Like, why'd you do that? 15 yards.
Targeting, subject to review. This didn't need a review at the time. That's how bad it. But he was an outstanding player going against that Utah team that went undefeated that year, that played in the Fiesta Bowl. So I feel like I had a piece in the success of Alex Smith, but he went number one overall.
Yeah, he went number one overall. And then talk about things that will never happen again in the history of the NFL draft.
Yes.
Running backs went picks number 2, 4, and 5. 3 running backs in the top 5 of an NFL draft, TJ. Things we'll never see again.
Yeah.
We talked about Cadillac Williams earlier. He was Offensive Rookie of the Year that year. Ronnie Brown went second. They were teammates at Auburn. 2 teammates, running backs in the top 5. Cedric Benson, rest in peace, was 4th overall. Braylon Edwards was 3rd overall. Remember how dominant Braylon Edwards was at Michigan. Some other things in this draft class I was looking at. One Hall of Famer so far. Aaron Rodgers obviously going to get in, and much to my dismay, Frank Gore will get in at some point. 11th pick overall, DeMarcus Ware. TJ, one of your all-time favorite players, 138 career sacks. This draft, I just couldn't get enough of it. Roddy White ends up being the best receiver in this draft.
Yeah.
He was 27th overall, first-round pick, almost 11,000 career yards, 63 touchdowns. The late Vincent Jackson was a second-round pick.
Richie Incognito to the St. Louis Rams.
Richie Incognito in this draft.
Third round pick, 81st overall. I was actually drafted before Richie, so we still joke about it all the time.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you before I get to that, Ryan Fitzpatrick was the 250th overall pick, 7th rounder, 35,000 career passing yards.
The last player selected in the 3rd round. Who was the last player selected in the 3rd round?
Maurice Clarett.
Maurice Clarett, running back. I don't even know if he had an affiliation because remember he didn't play that previous year. So you can say Maurice Clarett of Ohio State, but remember he didn't play that year because he was trying to come out after his sophomore year. That's amazing. Mike Williams were not allowed to play, so they came out the year after.
Kirk, do you remember who was taken one pick before you and after you?
Wow, that's a tough one.
So you were 78th overall to the Oakland Raiders.
Yep.
Number 77. Anyone remember that?
Just give me the team.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, was it like a lineman?
Running back, Ryan Moats.
La Tech.
From Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
And then right after you,
the
Panthers took Evan Mathis.
Oh, yeah, and he had a great career too.
Did.
Yeah. He was a baller.
Made 2 Pro Bowls.
He went to Alabama, right?
Pro.
This is when Alabama wasn't even Alabama back then. In 2005, Alabama wasn't the same Alabama today.
Not that we know now. Nick Saban wasn't even the head coach. Nick Saban was probably at LSU then.
I don't even know who the coach was at that time at Alabama. But I was just, when you talk about going through like these drafts too.
It's so fun to go through and look through all these guys to see. You know, I was looking at 15 players from this draft made first team All-Pro. There was 20-something guys who ended up being Pro Bowlers. It's really fun. Justin Tuck was in this draft. He went a few picks right before you.
Mike Shula was
the coach.
Mike Shula.
And he went 10-2 that year.
Yeah.
Oh, Logan Mankins in this draft.
The late Chris Henry was in your draft. I don't know if you mentioned him.
Man.
We got a lot. And then I would also say this too, because this is just how different. You brought up there were 7 quarterbacks that really played extensively like throughout their career.
Right.
Obviously, the top 2 we're going to talk about obviously is Aaron Rodgers, then Alex Smith.
Right.
But you think about the career that Ryan Fitzpatrick had, who was drafted he was close to being mystery relevant.
He was 230. Pick number 250.
Yeah, he was close to being mystery relevant. Almost. But he was there. Charlie Fry was a quarterback on that long list of the Browns quarterbacks.
Yep.
People forget that it was like Jake the Snake, and then after Jake the Snake Plummer was Kyle Orton in Denver. We were just, earlier we had Nick Kosmider from the Broncos, or the Broncos beat writer for The Athletic. That starts that whole lineage of quarterbacks after John Elway. We could talk about Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning was really only there for 3.5, 4 seasons?
Yeah, I think 4 seasons.
Yeah, 4
and then
seasons.
He was hurt during the Super Bowl year.
But if you think about it, you remove Peyton, they've been trying to find a quarterback for a long time, so you add in.
They're kind of like the
Kyle
Dolphins,
Orton.
like looking for the quarterback after Marino. The Broncos have been looking for the quarterback after Elway forever. Hope they have it now with Bo Nix. Jason Campbell in this draft.
Jason Campbell had a good career.
At the end of the first round.
Yep.
Derek Anderson made a Pro Bowl.
I forgot about DA.
The 1 year he lit it up for Cleveland.
Picked off DA. That's why.
And then someone, TJ, I know you love that we see on TV all the time.
We do.
Dan Orlovsky, a 5th round pick.
My guy, Dio. The pride of Connecticut. A lot of those guys, you just watched them.
Marion Barber.
You watched them.
Marion Barber, good one.
He was a beast.
Think about this. This guy.
Brandon Jacobs.
Never started a game at USC. Never started a game at USC. This is probably one of the great stories, and he deserves his own documentary, 30 for 30, whatever you want to call it. Didn't start a game at USC. There was a guy named Leinart there, and then before that was a guy named Carson Palmer was there. He was just the backup guy. Yet he still found a way to get drafted to the NFL because a coach saw something in him. A legendary coach saw something in him.
7th round pick.
And then went on to have a lucrative career in the National Football League. Matt Castle, backup quarterback at USC.
Yeah.
He gets drafted to the Patriots because Bill Belichick saw something in him, allowed him to develop. You never had a coach, Joe Avezzano, the great Joe Avezzano, was special teams coach for a long time for the Cowboys in the 90s, gave me one of these, one of those words of wisdoms. He always said, gentlemen, you don't know when it's your turn. That was his thing. You don't know when it's your turn. As I look at every one of you in here, you don't know when it's your turn. I say that because we go to the field, something may happen, and guess what? It is your turn.
You're one play away.
I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but something can happen, and boom, you're right in there. Tom Brady, in the opening game of the season against the Kansas City Chiefs,
5 minutes into the game.
Boom. We talk about Aaron Rodgers losing out on the season quickly. Tom Brady lost the season. It tore the NFL up so bad they changed the rule.
Also, not just any season.
Yes.
The year after they went undefeated.
Yes.
And they have the whole same team back, and they're like, well, okay, are they going to make up for losing in the Super Bowl and 18-1? No. 5 minutes. Boom.
5 minutes.
Over.
It's
Late,
over.
Dirty hit.
Yeah, my guy Pollard, man, went down. I mean, he's took a lot of grief for that, but he went low on Tom Brady trying to get a sack. Brady tears his ACL. Out for the year, enters Matt Castle. Didn't know it was his turn, but it became his turn and led the Patriots to an 11-5 record and did not make the playoffs, but he did make Matt Castle one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL off of money. 1 year. 1 year.
Another thing, just to look at the sad part about it, because as you're reading this, you said this word way too often, which is late. There's way too many men in this draft class who are no longer with us, and this hasn't even been 20 years. We've said at least 4 or 5 men who are gone right now, and that's insane to me.
It's a lot of guys, man. It's just I think Pac-Man Jones was the 6th overall. Adam Jones, Pac-Man Jones, 6th overall. It's the National Football League, man. I think in 20 years, I think we've all lost people along the way, but it's always great for me that sometimes I get a chance to just reflect and see how much the game has changed. I will tell you this, the game is safer now than it was back in 2005.
No doubt.
Think about all the rule changes.
No doubt. Yeah.
That's what people get upset about. It's like, oh, they're taking away the game that I love. And I'm like, no, they're making it safer. We don't have to go out there and practice 6 days in a row in full pads and go up there and hit heads. I mean, they didn't have Guardian caps. If I wore a Guardian cap in 2005, they would have banned me from the NFL.
You would have
now
gotten laughed out of the league.
it's required.
Yeah.
You go low on a quarterback, you're not playing. You're suspended for multiple games. Or you hit a guy high in the head, you're suspended. The game is cleaned up. The game is much better. The game is, I would say, it's more offensive led because of some of the rules. But at the end of the day, it's more entertaining now than it was before. You said it, man. 3 running backs in the top 5
That's
of an
insane.
NFL draft. I just say that again. 3 running backs drafted in the top 5 of the National Football League will never happen again. If you
Never
get
say
one
never, but never.
There you go. Thanks, Mike Thomas.
if you get one in the first round, it's a good draft. Let alone 3 in the top 5, whew, that's a lot. So thanks for the memories.
Wow,
there.
it was fun. It's fun to go back and I know TJ, you like to do this all the time too.
All the time. Man.
It's so fun to go back and look at old drafts just to see the Hall of Famers or the Pro Bowlers. Like if you just look at the next year,
just to play the results.
the
too.
next year, 06.
Oh, don't go 06. That's Reggie. That's
That's
Mario
Williams and Reggie Bush. But if you
Yeah.
look at quarterbacks, one quarterback has over 10,000 passing yards. One in that draft class, 06.
06, and we're talking about
Speaking of a former Bronco, Jay
Bronco.
Cutler.
Wow.
One quarterback over 10,000
So
yards
no
in that
Vince
draft.
Young, no Matt Leinart, no
Vince Young got to 9,000. Matt Leinart got to 4,000. A what-if career for both those guys.
4,000 for Matt Leinart.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's crazy.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.